Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host, Flavia Barris, as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur.
Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak with TJ Van Gerven. He is a financial planner, the founder of Modern Wealth Builders, also the host of the podcast, Do More With Your Money. After graduating from Virginia Tech, where he studied economics and actuarial science, TJ has spent his entire career in the financial services industry as a financial planner. He's passionate about helping millennials use money intentionally as a tool to build toward financial flexibility and independence. Outside of helping clients with their financial plan, TJ enjoys practicing Muay Thai, listening to audiobooks, going to Martha's Vineyard, and hanging out with his friends and family. Welcome to the show, TJ.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, it's great to have you. And I think money mindset and just money knowledge, it's such an important part of being an entrepreneur, but also just kind of adulting. You know, just being an adult in today's society, we need to have an awareness of money management and wealth building and how to retain wealth and how to grow it and eventually, hopefully, how to retire. So tell me a little bit about how you ended up where you are today, working exclusively in the area of wealth and finances.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's good to think about our past and how we got to where we are today. And so, I had somewhat of a tumultuous upbringing, and my parents came from very different ends of the spectrum. My dad was one of six from Dutch immigrants, and really his father unfortunately passed away as he was a child. And so they were very, poverty stricken, and money was very scarce, and he had to work from a young age and worked for everything that he had. And so he definitely developed this scarcity mindset around money and always talked to me about it. Whereas on the other side of the spectrum, my mom came from a little bit of generational wealth. Her grandfather actually came from the Azores, immigrant himself, but ended up coming into a fair amount of money, helping the Bank of Fall River merged with the Bank of Boston. Anyways, there was some generational wealth there, but she was on the other side of the spectrum, really didn't understand necessarily how to retain it or how to spend it in kind of a strategic way. So really seeing those different dynamics with my parents just obviously caused me to want to figure out how to use money intentionally, both for myself and then also, helping people. I work with a lot of couples, manage finances together and figure out not only how to maximize your resources, because I am passionate about how to figure out the best financial planning and wealth management strategies, but really like what is the end goal here? What is the life that we are trying to achieve both in the present and in the future? So I think that's how I got to where I am today.
A lot of people, when they hear financial planning, they think, okay, that's something you do maybe later in life when you're very well established and you've built up a huge amount of savings and, you're wealthy. And so now you need wealth management. But in your eyes, when is sort of the right time to start thinking about financial planning? When is it the optimal time? Do you have to reach some sort of a income threshold? Is there a right age? Because I think there's a lot of people that have never thought of going to a financial planner, just like maybe they've never thought of going to, a chiropractor because their back doesn't hurt. And so what do you think would be that timing where people should really think about getting outside assistance to help with wealth and finances?
Yeah, that's a great question. And most of the industry is geared towards serving those people that are close to retirement, largely because they have more assets to manage. And if they're charging a percentage on those assets, it's going to be easier for them to get a fee kind of thing. But luckily, there's so many options nowadays where they're using like subscription fees, and you can work with an advisor on a more affordable basis. So you can get advice earlier in your career. And why would you want to do that? Well, there's compounding effects to making smart decisions over the long haul. And part of the reason why I love working with millennials in particular is, number one, I'm a millennial, I can relate to them, but also, and they can e-sign a document, but it's basically because those habits that you develop now over the course of 10, 20, 30 years compound. And if you can really hone in on your investment strategy, understanding lifetime tax planning, making sure that you're living, again, balancing the present with building towards financial flexibility in the future, you can alleviate a lot of anxiety along the way. And you can also set yourself up so when you are ready to stop working, that it's not this huge adjustment because you've already built all of the financial literacy and what it takes to maintain that. And so if you're at a point in your career where maybe you're maxing your 401k, or even you got a substantial bump in income and now you have some excess discretionary income and you're thinking about, how do I balance paying down debt, taking advantage of retirement accounts, saving for a down payment on a home, or emerging finances with a partner? How do I manage that together? How do I save for my kids' education costs? Or you're just looking for somebody to actually offload some of these tasks too. So one of the things that I like to say is, do you have the time, talent, and energy to do this, right? Like you could, for example, mow your own lawn, but we still hire a landscaper. There's value in having a partner that you can trust, is knowledgeable, and can hopefully remove some things from your plate and actually save you some time as well. So I would say if you're at that point, that's when it can make sense to look for outside counsel.
And what does it look like for you as someone who works in the industry? So there's someone listening who's looking for just their next career move. What does a career in financial planning look like? Is it generally being an employee of a firm? Are there sort of freelancers out there who've started their own thing? What kind of training and licensing do you need?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is an area I can definitely speak on with confidence. So I am an independent financial planner. So I have my own financial planning firm and I'm not tied to any corporation, which is really nice because when you work with the client, you get paid directly by the client. So there's better incentive structure, in my opinion. And unfortunately, most of the financial services industry is more in a product sales type role. So if you're just getting into the industry, unfortunately, for the most part, the way to get going is you have to be able to sell product, whether it's life insurance or mutual funds or some kind of commission-based product. And if you can survive in that, then you may be able to transition to, the fee-only space. There is more opportunity coming within the fee-only independent space where there are true, I would say, like advice professionals. So again, you're paid just a fee for your advice and you can learn under an advisor. I started kind of as like a paraplanner role. So you can think of this as like a paralegal type situation where you're working under the main advisor and you're sitting in on client meetings and you're learning about the financial planning process. There are definitely licenses that go into it. I am a certified financial planner. That's a great designation if you are looking to get into financial planning, where it actually teaches you, some of the fundamentals of like what it means to have a financial planning engagement, not just selling a product for a commission kind of thing.
And what's your favorite part of your job? I mean, what is it about your job and career? It's not really a job. I mean, you're your own boss, but what is it about what you do that keeps you going and motivated every day versus, a lot of people, even if they're happy in their work, we get the itch to like try something new or go off and, try a new career or a new area, build a second business. But for you, what is it that keeps you where you are?
Yeah, well, money obviously impacts every part of your life. So when you're working with people and talking about money, it's way more than that. So I feel good. I feel like I have a meaningful impact on the people that I work with because, hopefully I can add tangible value to, dollars and cents, but really helping them work through these major life decisions and just being a thinking partner for them. So I find value in that. I think it's great if you can, again, make a good income and also merge that with something that you derive, some level of meaning and purpose from. So I think that's why I do it. I also like the personalization aspect of it, that, being a solopreneur where I can change anything. If there's something I don't like, it's totally on me to change that. If I don't like how much money I'm making, it's totally on me to change that. If I don't like the service calendar or the process or any of that stuff. And so there's really nobody to blame but myself, which is kind of nice. So, that's for anybody who's self-employed or solopreneur, but for me personally, those would be all the reasons.
And how much of your time is devoted to sort of outreach and education and getting new clients, bringing them in, sort of being the sales and marketing arm of your business versus actually sitting down and servicing clients and meeting with them one-on-one to put together their financial plans?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's changed over time. I started in 2018 and I had 0 clients, 0 assets under management. And so obviously a lot more time was spent back then to doing whatever I could to market myself. Nowadays I would say it's probably a third, a third, a third as far as like marketing, service, and then like compliance and all the other stuff that goes to running a business. I've tried to streamline my practice where I have kind of set months where I meet with clients, and then the outside months I can take on new clients. I can take time to kind of revamp my marketing funnel, address any kind of compliance things I need to work on, accounting, all those stuff that comes with running a business. So that'd be the current breakdown.
And you have a podcast. So you find the time to also host a podcast. Tell us a little bit about how that podcast format is, and is it guests? Is it you? And what kinds of topics do you talk about?
Yeah, so it started off as monologues. It's do more with your money. So the idea was, hey, let's talk about something within financial planning so I can help the audience do more with their money. So if you go back to the original episodes, it was all just me, talking about single concepts, maybe just like understanding the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. And then, I kind of got bored of that and I wanted to bring on guests. So the last 20 plus episodes have me bringing on other financial experts and just talking about their, domain of expertise. And yeah, just really trying to literally help people do more with their money, whether that is, again, on the technical side of things or mindset side of things or really anything.
And you help people sort of plan for sabbaticals. First of all, let's define sabbatical, because I think that's a word that's not really in the common vernacular, maybe, and especially with maybe younger generations. I think sabbaticals, if you're a boomer, you're like, oh, I know exactly what that is. And that's usually for, well, you tell us what that means.
Sure.
You define. I don't want to define it the way that I think boomers look at it. But what do you think is a sabbatical, and why is it important? Why do you help people plan for them?
Yeah, so it can be anywhere from, I would say, 3 months to 3 years. Typically, sabbaticals are a little bit shorter than that from the general sense, but really is just taking time off from work. And so I really encourage clients who are burnt out, who have some level of financial flexibility, that are interested in this, to really take time to kind of clear their mind, figure out what their next steps are, and not be afraid to use their resources. So I do tend to work with people that, have experienced some kind of windfall with like equity compensation. So maybe they had stock options in a company that goes public, and now they have, a little bit of investable assets that they can use. And so instead of having this mindset where you have to have this linear path to, we're going to work 30 straight years to retirement and then retire, really using our resources along the way to take breaks. You can even do this if you are like laid off, and you don't be afraid to use your resources. And this is really when the non-retirement investment accounts come into play, is building good habits, not just with your savings, but really making sure that you're investing on an ongoing basis. Don't be afraid to then turn around and use that money, because there are opportunities if you do take a sabbatical where you can do tax planning, where you might be in a certain capital gain bracket rate, or you can shift money from pre-tax to Roth. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. So there's a lifestyle aspect to it. There's a reset for your mind, clearing your mind. And then also you can still use it to financially plan.
And so your kind of work, I would imagine, can become sort of consuming, taxing. You can definitely easily overschedule yourself based on client needs. How do you stay balanced and sane and keep your schedule optimized for what you want in life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the great part about this type of business is that you don't need to work with a ton of people, right? You might 50 households, 30 households even. You can have a sustainable practice depending on how much revenue per household. So as long as you structure your practice to give yourself free time, and that's why I do this kind of surge style meeting where I'm only meeting certain months of the year. It's kind of, I'm sprinting for that month or month and a half, and then I have a couple months to kind of regroup. Gives me time in advance to prepare for meetings, gives me time to revamp my marketing funnel. And then obviously for like personal health and mental health, I do all kinds of yoga, meditation, therapy. I mean, it's everything really for myself, and I'm very active as well. So I have a lot of hobbies too. I'm really not the kind of person that needs to, grow an empire. I really like the solopreneur lifestyle practice aspect of it. And, my goal always was to gain autonomy via this business, work on my terms, work with people that I enjoy working with, and make a good income, and an income that I think is fair for the value that I provide. And I feel really good about all those things.
Well, it sounds like you have truly found your sort of ideal profession, ideal lifestyle. I love that you do Muay Thai. I mean, that's martial arts, right? So you're also out there, with all the hobbies, all the things, and fitness is such an important part too of what we do. So any last sort of thoughts and maybe just something motivational for someone that's sitting? I mean, there's so many different ways that you can inspire a listener, because either someone is sitting and knows that they haven't been paying attention to their finances or to planning or to thinking about retirement someday, right? And so they may need your words to get off their chair and do something about that. But there's also people looking for a career change and working in finance. I mean, it's one of those things, no matter what in life, people will need these services. So it's a great career to take off in as well. What would you say to people in either of those situations?
Well, if you are looking to transition into maybe considering how to be a financial planner, I highly recommend looking at xyplanningnetwork.com in the advisor section. That was how I launched my firm. And they really give you all the tools as a solo advisor to start your practice from scratch. And so, I mean, obviously you probably want to look into getting, some experience and training before that. But if you are looking to transition into this career, it's definitely a growing field, and the independent space is still very new, and it's good to compete with the big companies. So I wouldn't be afraid of that. And then on the other hand, I would say if you're just thinking about managing your finances, is really just awareness is the first step. So understanding your basic numbers, right? Using a tool. I love Monarch Money. It's one of my favorite little tools to use, and it just aggregates all your accounts and understanding, how much cash you have. What is your credit cards? What is the inflows and outflows every month? Are you living below your means, right? If you're not living below your means, is it because you're not making enough money? If you're not making enough money, then that's the first step. What skills can you invest in to increase your income? All these tools of saving and investing and tax planning are great, but they don't really help a ton until you have some discretionary income. And so often your best investment is going to be in yourself, in your skills, and then develop those habits and those fundamentals. And if you can increase your income over time and you can maintain those habits and fundamentals, then you're going to see the benefits of compound interest from investing and all these other things come into play. But just make sure that you are keeping perspective about what's important. And if you build good fundamentals and carry those along with you throughout your life, then that's going to have compounding effects.
It's been so great chatting with you. And I love the money topic because it's interesting. With entrepreneurs, you would think that money is sort of top of the pyramid, right? Because they're trying to build a business and make some income from it. That's entrepreneurship, right? Is
Right.
building something that is sustainable and create something for its founders or owners so that becomes their job. But there's so many dreamers out there, and I love it too, because without the dream, you can't really accomplish anything, that are just focused on starting a business and here's the vision of what we're providing in the world. Here's the product. Here's its brand. Here's its colors. Here's what it looks like. Here's my logo. And they're kind of thinking of all that. But the money piece of it, especially something that feels far off, maybe like retirement, is sort of put on the back burner, like so far back, you don't even know the burner's on. And I love that you help people, not just entrepreneurs, but just everybody, sort of look at their finances and think of it as an equation, right? Something that they need to pay attention to and strategize and plan for. And that it's not something someone has to do alone. They can entrust someone like you to be their partner and their guide and their consultant and mentor and all the things to make all these things happen. So I love what you're doing out there in the world. I really appreciate what you do, but also sharing it with us today.
Well, absolutely. And thank you for having me on. And the last thing I'll say too is, money, like you alluded to, is really just a tool. And I know that's somewhat cliche and people say that, but if we can avoid attachment to money and really, again, seeing it as a tool, that's going to allow us to do so many other things. Because if we try to hold on to the money and then not use it, as our life goes on, we're going to look back and see that the money had much more value at certain points in our life. And so by not losing sight of that, whether that's giving to people that need it more than us, or, using it for trips that we might not be able to take later in life, or all these different things, not losing perspective and not trying to hold on to every last dollar is important as well.
Such wise words, truly. Thank you, TJ, for being on the show today. It's been a pleasure chatting.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use a coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.